Hey there, Kenneth French of Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. We're very, very happy you stopped by. Either you're going to watch this or listen to this because you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably an entrepreneur who's either just starting out or you've been around for quite a while and you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably a real estate investor, maybe even a real estate agent, maybe a professional or of some sort, professional advisor of some sort. And well, you are stopping by because you need some valuable advice from one of the top industry leaders there is. Anyway, thank you very much. Once again, Kenneth French, Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Really glad you stopped by.
Finance, artificial intelligence, plus asset protection, estate planning, all under one roof. Finally, it's here. Hey, Kenneth French from vastsolutionsgroup.com. We have joined with a company that's huge into asset protection and estate planning, and that's Asset Defense Team, led by Bob Bloom. Now we're forming vastassetdefense.com strategic alliance, bringing it all under one roof. That helps you, the entrepreneur who's looking for, lower taxes, finance help, maybe even commercial property financing for your real estate needs, and then also to put a moat around your business or moat around your assets, that with asset protection, then plan for the future for your heirs, etc., with estate planning. This is huge. It's huge in the marketplace. People have been asking for it for years from us, and finally we've come through. I'm going to do a presentation which answers questions relative to really all of that, really augmenting Bob Bloom's presentation and thoughts on the subject as well. So let's go ahead and let's get right to it. I'm going to show you my screen. Let's show you my window. Let's get right to it. We're going to go to our slideshow, which is going to really, again, answer really some of the questions that have been coming into our office as far as tax finance, asset protection, artificial intelligence, also estate planning. We're here to add value to you, the business owner. We don't just want to launch our new undertaking. What we want to do is add value to you. That's more important than anything in talking about ourselves. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about first who I am real briefly. Kenneth French, Forbes.com small business contributor. I used to be, I should say. I'm three-time author. I've been, retired for over 10 years, basically just kicking it now, deciding to kick it into higher gear because now there's so much stuff about artificial intelligence. Plus, a bunch of my friends have gotten richer than I am, so I got to work a little bit harder. There you see Vasta Solutions Group. I run that company, and it's now a vastassetdefense.com company. We're under that banner, and there's no other reason for us to go under that banner unless I trusted Bob and his team to help our clients specifically to put a moat around their business and their lives with asset protection. Also, make sure that their families are taken care of as far as estate planning. I think a lot of our clients need estate planning, etc. So here, let's listen to a couple things that are said about us. Now that guy, knows his stuff. If you think about it, if you think about it, he wouldn't have done that unless he actually did really truly believe what we were doing. We are really lowering taxes for business owners, entrepreneurs, usually real estate investors, in such a way that we were pushing the envelope. So we decided to deploy artificial intelligence back in 2018. I've been analyzing artificial intelligence since 2010, maybe even before that. I wanted to make it uh, kind of push the envelope as far as technology, because people would go to CPAs and tax providers, and they'd come to us with what they were thinking was a good solution, and we'd figure out, well, wait a minute, no, that's not a good solution. That will not save you money. Once one way to make it foolproof, well, reverse it. Have technology do the kind of the basics, and then have a CPA, our CPA as an example, come in and make sure the artificial intelligence model makes sense. And obviously it's worked out. We're growing, left and right. People are, I should say, entrepreneurs specifically, know that we're doing the right thing. Hence the reason we're getting so many referrals. Now, why are you here? Here to increase your net worth and at the same time lower your tax dollars. Now, again, this is going to be all talking about Q&A, the Q&A that's come into our office, questions that have come into our office, people wanting us to help them really with some solutions that should be commonplace, but they're not out there. Small business owners are the forgotten about group out there because some people don't want to work with solopreneurs, a number of whom we work with. Some people don't want to work with, you know, people who have under 10 employees, under 5 employees. That's our marketplace. For whatever reason, I believe, and that's the engine of America's economy as a small business owner. And those are the groups that I've found, you know, interesting to work with. And specifically real estate. I believe in real estate as a foundation for wealth. Everybody is different, by the way. Sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't work. But those are the and hence the reason I'm working with a lot of real estate investors. And that's also the case for Bob. That's also the case for so many of the people in our company, Bob's company, and our network is just surrounded by, you know, small business owners, entrepreneurs, or solopreneurs. So that's why we're uniquely suited to help in that regard. You know, let's get right to it. S corps. You know, we get a lot of questions about, you know, ways, mainly from real estate agents, ways to lower their tax liability. And so many of them come into us. And by the way, it doesn't have to just be a real estate agent. So many of these people come to us, you know, they have an LLC or a sole proprietorship, meaning all of them, let's say 200,000. I just had this lady come to me last week, $200,000 was coming into on an annual basis. Actually, she was down a little bit this year. Would be coming in on an annual basis to her Social Security. So she's paying basically self-employment tax on that full $200,000. Hey, you know, you're overpaying your taxes. If you're in that situation, if you're, you know, taking, let's say you're a sole prop, you know, you're 1099, all this money is going to you, generally speaking, at a pretty good amount, depending what the amount is, you could be paying too much in taxes. What sometimes, therefore, it makes sense to have a LLC, which Bob puts together as far as asset protection, by the way, and have it taxed as an S corp. Federally, it's taxed as an S corp. There's a number of things you have to do. There is a little bit more regulation, but if you could save money on it, why not do that? I had a guy who was, I'm not kidding, no exaggeration, years ago, making $10 million all K1. Sorry, all 1099. Think about that. Think of all the money he was paying in payroll tax. I mean, he was paying way overpaying his taxes. By the way, he had all his entities in his own name. It was absolutely crazy. But anyway, that's a whole nother situation. I guess what I'm saying is, back to my point, S corps in some cases, in most cases, makes sense, especially if you're a real estate agent. Usually, you're not doing business with us. Well, no. What I should say is there's a lot of real estate agents, a lot of even you know, doctors, dentists, et cetera, out there who are taking money into the LLC and they're not choosing the S corp election. So have, you know, what I would say is go back, talk to your tax provider. Who knows? Maybe that makes sense. I don't know. In general, it doesn't, but have a relationship with them. They can help you potentially to lower your tax liability based on this scenario. And if they don't understand this, if they don't understand how S corps work or the payroll, any of that, I mean, run, run. Come to us if you need help at vastsolutionsgroup.com. Schedule an appointment. We'll give you 15 minutes of our time to at least go over your scenario. Plus, you can join our community. We have a community that we're rolling out called Vast Vault, where Bob and I and a number of people in our network are going to be adding value. It's a content-rich vault. Vast Vault, you know, we're going to be telling business secrets to entrepreneurs, letting out the secrets. You can join that community as well. And one way of you would be learning if you're a real estate agent or a real estate investor or an operating entity, you will learn about elements like this, an S corp, how that could save you tax liability. Remember this lady, $200,000 going to her own sole prop. Well, overpaying her taxes. If she were part of that community, the Vast Vault, she would have been able to easily. Pretty much everyone in there is going to know about. I assume at least is going to know about S corps and how to lower their taxes. Now, now, one strategy with respect to that S corp is to have a low salary, or I should say, an appropriate salary. The IRS, number of years, well, for a long time, they've given no guidance as to what the salary should be. You know, they said the market salary. They gave a little bit of guidance a few years ago, but in general, I'm going to say in general, the lower your salary, the lower the taxes, because believe it or not, as employees, people pay a lot in taxes. Business owners, crazy, I know, business owners don't pay as much. They don't pay on the difference between the salary and then sometimes you can call it yield, whatever you want to call it, right? They don't pay on the difference between the gross expenses, and then the salary, right? It's a different tax. It's a completely different tax rate. So it's one thing to think about lowering taxes via having a low salary. By the way, I'm going to go back to the point, go back to your tax provider. If they don't understand situations like this, strategies like this, you got to come to us here at vastsolutionsgroup.com. At our upper tiers, we have artificial intelligence that can lower your tax liability. But more than anything, we have a CPA who you can talk to 15 minutes at least to give you an idea if it makes sense. Or again, go to that community desk. Can't afford whatever $2,500 annual or an hour meeting, but they might be able to be helped by being in community, not only by us, but also the people in the community here at the Vast Vault. Tax deduction. So many people don't realize that you can lower your taxes based on simple tax deductions. I'll give an example. I was talking to this guy, his son takes a bunch of pictures for their website. And I said, well, that's awesome. Are you doing a deduction? Does he or she have does he have an entity? No, it's all under his own entity. Okay, which is great. That's great. So, well, when your son's taking pictures going away, he was in Florida, by the way, and they went to the Bahamas to take pictures for some real estate. I said, well, you can deduct that. What? You can deduct that? Yeah, you can deduct that. Totally. By the way, there's so many strategies there. It's unbelievable. His flight, I'll give an example. His flight to the Bahamas, deductible. His food, generally speaking, deductible. His gas, rental car, there's so many things you can deduct as a business owner. The government allows you to do deductions. It's not like you're pushing the envelope. It's something allowed in congressional law. So think about that. If you're trying to grow your business, usually the IRS is, it's deductible. Anything generally speaking, anything you're doing to grow your business usually is deductible. That's just the way it is. And so many people don't realize that. They don't take the proper deduction, especially if you're doing your own taxes. Now, the important thing is, now I'm not saying and suggesting in any way in any of our consultation to be overly aggressive. What you should do is just common sense deductions, right? And so many people are walking right over deductions, and that could be a huge amount of money that business owners are walking away from. Insurance. Now, what I mean by that is we'll talk about captives in a little bit, or actually more in that community, the Vast Vault community. Now, in many cases, let's say you're a business owner, you have a lot of risk on your shoulders. Well, one way of getting around that risk which is pretty cool, you can write a check to your own insurance company. There's a bunch of regulations, but what happens is instead of writing a check to ABC Insurance Company, you're writing a check to your own insurance company, your own what's called a captive or 831B in this case. You're receiving that premium, and you don't have to pay tax on that premium. You pay the tax on the growth. So that's just a smart strategy. And by the way, it could be up to 2.8 million. It depends on the circumstance. You could put away sometimes as much as $2.8 million, right? So that's just one strategy of removing risk and getting a deduction. So it's a tax play. And by the way, assets, generally speaking, minus the fees, because there's a lot of fees, right? You're managing those fees. You're managing those assets. Think about that. That's awesome. It's called a captive or 831B. The money isn't going away to ABC Insurance Company. You get to manage it. Hopefully, at the end of the day, you haven't had any claims, et cetera, et cetera. You have reinsurance on the backside. There's a bunch of very smart elements surrounding that. But man, it is really intelligent if you really think about it. Captive insurance. We have a bunch of them going on right now. By the way, real estate investors, more than anything, they should at least look at it, ask their tax provider or ask their insurance agent to see if it makes sense in their circumstance. Bookkeeper, I used to say, and I'm recorded on this, I'm public. I used to say, try to do your own bookkeeping. I would say as quickly as possible, get a bookkeeper on board. Why? Because they're the magic, they're the foundation of finance. If you're properly categorized and finances are clear, your business will be worth way more at the end of the day, plus all the way along the line. The nice thing is your finances will be accurate. You will know what your rate of return is for each entity, for each enterprise, for each department, for whatever the case is. Get a bookkeeper as early as possible. I made a mistake. I'm saying for years that, try to learn the books yourself. And that's one way of doing it. But so many of our business owners, I'm learning, they're out there doing what it is they're good at, and they need to be. And when they basically muddy the waters with their finances, they screw up their finances, and they also screw up whatever the endeavor is, selling widgets or whatever the case is. Get a good bookkeeper. Cutting expenses. Now, why do I? This is going to sound funny. Now, cutting expenses in lieu of gross revenue, it might not make sense. I would say go after the gross revenue, but there's so many ways to lower your expenses. Cut the expenses of the frills that you don't need. Now, this is outside uh, the the parameters of estate planning, of taxes, finance, etc. But I would say one of the big things to think about are cutting the expenses. And one way of doing that, this is in line with bookkeeping, having communication with your bookkeeper. Your bookkeeper should be really in the car with you when you're driving your company. That's how important bookkeepers are. So I would say one thing to do, look at your expense a little bit more closely. Now, I mentioned the Vast Vault. I want people to really think about this. $29 a month. All you now, I was going to say, what do you get? All you get is us. But us, it's all procured information that both Bob and I and our teams have put together specifically to help business owners. There's not many resources out there. This is a group that's put together specifically as we launch all this stuff to help business owners. We're going to be communicating on a once a month basis, and then maybe even more often. We're getting together in in 2025. We're going to be getting together in person. We're getting together once a month. There's 6 different topics that we go over specifically in the Vast Vault. There's going to be even more going forward. $29 a month, 20 time in business. Now, you're going to get exclusive content, and everything's going to be procured for you in a way that you as a business owner will be able to spend, let's say, 1 hour a month, so you can go and do what it is you need to do as a business owner. The Vast Vault. Sign up at vastsolutionsgroup.com. I shouldn't say sign up. There is an application process. What do you get? Here, we're going to go in a little bit more details. Monthly virtual meetings, Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs, our webinar. You're going to get content, really a library, pre-release copy of the publication. We're having a book coming out. I'm having a book coming out in 2025. We're going to have, you're going to have pre-release copy, networking. There, I mentioned the October Las Vegas event, 5% discount products and services. And there's caveats there and a lot more. And here, $29 a month. Pension, defined benefit plans. We have an actuary on staff. A lot of people ask, why do you have an actuary on? Everyone asks, why do you have an actuary on staff? Well, one way of saving for retirement and lowering taxes for a business owner is a defined benefit plan pension. You can put away a lot. I have a lawyer who puts away $200,000 a year, and he's in California. So let's just say it saves him conservatively $80,000. Well, think about that. $80,000, that can go a long way, right? He can hire an employee. He could put money into a life insurance policy, which he, by the way, does. And then he ends up leveraging that, putting into real estate. It's pretty smart what he does. And no, he's really smart with what he's got going on. So anyway, defined benefit plans make a lot of sense. I mean, just think about it. You don't have to put away $200,000, but whatever the number is, $200,000, $80,000 tax saving. Let's say you're putting away $100,000, that's $40,000. Whatever the number is, it's a way of getting you closer to retirement, amassing a pretty good chunk of money, much more than you can do in a 401k. And at the same time, the nice thing is, well, it's tax deductible. Generally speaking, all the assets that go into the plan are tax deductible. Commercial real estate, as one of the big reasons, Bob and I decided to come together, we knew we can help a large number of clients. A large number of his clients and our clients, I figured out, have needed commercial property finance. Well, now we have a group, I own a group that that provides commercial property finance for business owners, or really for anyone who's looking for assets to buy commercial property. It's got to be at least 2 million above, really 5 million above. Let's say someone's out there, they want a $20 million business building, they only have 10 million bucks or whatever the number is. We could provide the financing. Now, it's tough in today's world to get financing, but man, hey, one way of getting over that barrier is commercial property finance, and align themselves with a group like ours here at vastsolutionsgroup.com. People, and in line with that, we have a group that also does private money, meaning we have 750 relationships with banks and creditors. Well, the nice thing is, well, those are banks. kind of traditional banks, right? Some are money, and then some are traditional, smaller ones. But at the same time, we have a huge number that are also private money banks. And you call them loan sharks, but they're willing to offer up money, and especially in today's world where you might not be able to get financing through a bank. Let's just say, well, the nice thing is we have private money lenders out there as well. Now, asset protection. I had this question come in. What is asset protection? The analogy I said was it's a moat around your business, moat around your assets. Well, think about it. Back in the old days, people used to try to, go after the king's ransom, king's money. Well, they couldn't get to it typically because there's water, and sometimes there's spikes, jutting out of the water. Well, then attackers would have a hard time or would be afraid to attack the king as a result. Well, the nice thing is if you have a big moat, no one's even going to come close because they're gonna hear about your moat. Same thing with asset protection. If they know that you have a solid asset protection place, meaning people who are habitual litigants or litigants who are after rich people's money, especially real estate investors, well, if they know that you have a good asset protection plan in place, they won't even come close to trying for the lawsuit. And that's really what asset protection is. It's when they see the initial structure, meaning the litigants, they're going to stay away from you, right? But because a lawyer, think about it. A lawyer, he or she sees an easy prey. Let's say an investor who has everything owned in their own name, right? Think about that, owned in their own name, right? If you have one slip and fall on one of your properties and everything's owned in your name, someone's going to go after that asset and all the other assets because they know they can. It's not a properly structured asset protection plan. But at the same time, let's say you have, as an example, this might be overkill, but an entity for each property, they're not going to go after it. It's going to be way too hard. Way too hard. Asset protection, good asset protection plan makes a lot of sense. Hence the reason we're aligning ourselves with Bob, because all of our clients, we have 800, no, and let's just say 1,000 clients. So many clients are, they want to make sure that their assets are protected. Well, one way, and they're not getting any help. So we figured, okay, we're going to align ourselves with Big Bob because I know, that's why I call him. I know that he could take good care of our clients. Hence the reason we go to Bob. We're considering him a bonus. What he's offering for our clients is 30-minute consultation for asset protection. What's going to happen is you're going to fill out a form. It's going to be a form that's asset protection specific in nature. We're going to give it to Bob. You're going to meet with him 30 minutes. He's going to go over that form, 30-minute consultation free of charge. You don't have to pay his normal consultation. Living trust, estate planning. He's doing the same thing for asset protection, for living trusts and estate planning. Big Bob, half an hour. So a half an hour with asset protection, half an hour estate planning, fill out the forms. There you go. Copy of my book, Entrepreneur's Manifesto, a collection of smart financial advice. It's basically all my articles that I put into a book form, not all, a bunch of articles I put into book form. This will add value for you as a business owner. Now, the nice thing is, it hops around just like I do. My brain, I'm hopping around, but it gives advice on so many things that really entrepreneurs always ask about. There are some answers here. Now, to get this or to get Bob's bonus, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. Here's the disclosures. All this is owned by vastsolutionsgroup.com, vastassetdefense.com company. Please read all marketing materials. But more than anything, if you need anything, what you should be doing is going back to your advisor. If they don't know some of the concepts we've talked about, some of the questions that have come in, to our office, and they can't provide answers like the ones we've heard here today, or the ones that should be out there in the marketplace, get a hold of us at vastsolutionsgroup.com. Now, what I'm going to also say, kind of in closing, it's really important that people realize we're doing this strategic alliance for them, for you, the business owner. We're trying to help the business owner really kind of be able to compete better with some of the big guys. We're small business owners. We know exactly what it's like to be out there and try to, navigate the very muddy waters of entrepreneurialism. So we're here, we're in it with you and for you. We're here to help you as a business owner. This alliance, again, we're not only bringing tax, finance, artificial intelligence, estate planning, and asset protection together, we're also bringing over services that really that the marketplace needs for the small business owner. be a part of that community. That vast vault's a big deal. It's a really big deal. $20 start, spending a half an hour with Bob with estate planning and asset protection. I mean, we're in it to help you. Now, I'm going to say, if we have been helpful in any way, or you think we can improve, please go ahead and email us at info@vastsolutionsgroup.com, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. And at the same time, we'd love, if you've seen this, you want to send someone our way who you think could be advantaged by some of the stuff we've talked about. Or again, if you just want to talk, you want to, maybe you do want to secure our services, we're here to help. We'd love that, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to sign off here. I'm excited about this strategic alliance. Things are going well. We've been letting the cat out of the bag a little bit, and we're hearing very good feedback about it in so many different realms. Oh, I've wanted a one-stop shop for years. Now I could go to one spot for my tax help. I could go to one spot for my asset protection help. And I should note about Bob. I don't think I went over Bob enough. So Bob's been around for quite a while in the legal profession. He was of counsel for American Airlines for years. So he was on the other side. He was, working for the big business, and he was granted the business of Jay Minton, who was the father of asset protection. And he basically gave over his book of business, I should say, because he trusted Bob to be able to help his clients. And Bob, now I consider him the godfather of estate planning and asset protection, because he is really, really the one who's pushed the envelope, who set up so many structures. He's taken the stages with Margaret Thatcher, with Ronald Reagan, with both Bushes, as a matter of fact. So, I mean, he's a big name guy, and he's a credible guy. And more than anything, he's a good guy that I can trust. Hence the reason we've formed vastassetdefense.com. But, you could be doing a lot of things during, you could have been watching Friends. You could have been watching some game. Instead, you're watching and listening to this. And I really do appreciate you taking the time. It's been a pleasure. Wow. This is Kenner French. It's been a great time. I'm excited about the journey going forward. If you need anything, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. Thank you.